Hi everyone, and welcome to another video in my 2021 TBR series. In my last video, I shared with you the fantasy books that I hope to get to this year, and in this video, I'm going to be telling you 10 science fiction / dystopian books that I hope to read in 2021. As per usual, I have a lot of them written down on my phone, so if you see me looking down or reading off my phone, that is why. You will see a common theme in this video, and that is that a lot of these books were really popular, like 5 to 10 years ago, which is no surprise because I'm always 17 million steps behind everybody else when it comes to reading books and new releases and things like that. But without further ado, let's jump into the first book on my list, which is The Host by Stephenie Meyer. Like I said, it's kind of an old favorite for a lot of people. I actually watched the movie for this, so I am already familiar with the story. That being said, the movie was not the best, a little confusing, so I'm gonna try my best to give you a synopsis of this book. It is science fiction dystopian, as I said. I don't know if it would be considered post-apocalyptic or not, but more or less aliens have invaded the Earth, and they, put themselves into our bodies, and our bodies are hosts for these kind of alien creatures. So we're following our main character, who is an alien called Wanderer, and whoever, inhabits the body of a girl called Melanie. But Melanie's, conscious mind starts to fight back. So we're following sort of Wanderer, sort of Melanie, as they're both controlling the same body, and that's all that I can really tell you. As far as what actually happens, the storyline, I really don't remember, nor do I really understand what happened in that movie when I watched it, but I've actually heard so many great things about this book. I obviously really enjoyed Twilight. If you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, I was a really big Twilight fan back when it was popular, but I never got around to reading this book. But so many people that now don't even like Twilight still say that this is actually one of her really good books. So hopefully I will enjoy it. It's very big, so hopefully it will be worth all of the time. Next on my list we have Carve the Mark. I'm pretty sure this is science fiction. I don't know what it's about, which again is going to come to no surprise if you've seen any of my other videos, but I was such a big, I still am such a big fan of the Divergent books, and I feel like so many people say, I love Divergent, but only the first one. I loved all of the books, even the third book, which so many people had a problem with. I thought that the author made such a bold choice in that book, and I fully appreciate it, and I absolutely love that series. So why I haven't read any of her other books, because at this point she's put out quite a few other ones, I'm not sure why, but now I would finally like to get to this one. But again, I don't know what it's about. Next on my list, we have The Thousandth Floor by Katharine McGee. This, I think, is more on the side of dystopian than science fiction, but it takes place in New York City in the year 2118, and I think all of New York City basically lives in this one big tower, and, the closer to the top you are is, where the richer people live, and then the closer to the bottom is where the poorer people live. So I'm not 100% sure what it's about besides the dystopian element of it. I'll read you a little snippet of the synopsis on the inside. So it says, "Welcome to Manhattan, 2118. 100 years in the future, New York is a city of innovation and dreams. Everyone there wants something, and everyone has something to lose. Amid breathtaking advancement and high-tech luxury, 5 teenagers struggle to find their place at the top of the world, but when you're this high up, there's nowhere to go but down." So we are following 5 different main characters, I believe. It also has lovely end pages if you didn't notice that. But yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about this, so I really want to pick it up, and I have honestly not read dystopian in a really long time, which is really odd because it used to be my all-time favorite genre, so I'm really excited to read another one this year. Next on my list, we have a book called Scythe by Neal Shusterman. This, I think, is more on the side of dystopian fantasy rather than science fiction, but I'm not 100% sure. In this book, it takes place in the future, like I said, where there is no more death. There's no disease, there's no war, there's just no death. And the only thing that can take the life of another person is a scythe, which are basically like Grim Reapers, I think. So we're following 2 main characters, I believe, that are scythe apprentices. So it actually sounds really, really interesting, which I'm like ashamed to say because I kind of boycotted this book when it first came out just because I was so sick of hearing it. Like, if you watched BookTube when this book came out, there's no way that you didn't miss hearing about this book at least 17 times, because just everybody was talking about it. So it made me not want to read it, but then after, at this point, all of the books came out, I think it's a trilogy, and it does sound really interesting. It's an interesting concept, and like I said, I haven't read dystopian in a long time, and I'm really in the mood for it, so hopefully I will love this just like everybody else did. I accidentally bumped the camera, so sorry if the angle changed a little bit, but the next book on my list is Leia, Princess of Alderaan by Claudia Gray. This is obviously a Star Wars book. I believe this is a prequel to A New Hope, and we're following 16-year-old Princess Leia, which she is one of my favorite Star Wars characters, so I'm pretty excited to read this book. And sadly, I don't own a lot of the books that are canon. Like, a lot of the books that I own either were never canon or they were at one point before Disney bought the company and ruined the story. But this is one that is actually canon, I believe. So I'm pretty excited to give it a read and see what it's all about. Speaking of Star Wars novels, I'll just talk about the other two on my list. Honestly, I kind of just grabbed these at random because I didn't quite have enough science fiction dystopian books to put on this list to equal 10 books, so I thought I would fill the empty spaces with just some of my Star Wars books. So the two that I picked out is a prequel and a sequel to Revenge of the Sith. So the first one, which is the prequel, is Labyrinth of Evil. Again, I'm pretty sure that these probably aren't canon anymore, if they ever were, but nonetheless, I do enjoy to still read these books, and Anakin Skywalker is my favorite Star Wars character, so I'm pretty excited to read this book and just get more of Anakin content. And then the sequel is called Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, so this takes place after Revenge of the Sith. Obviously, with Anakin being my favorite character, Darth Vader is basically my favorite character also. So, once again, pretty excited to see what that is all about. Next, we have Across the Universe by Beth Revis. This you will probably recognize if you watched BookTube back in, like, 2014 to 2016 maybe. I feel like this was really popular on BookTube back then. All I really know about this is I believe it is the first in a trilogy, and I think we're following our main character who is on a ship with a bunch of other people, and they are all like cryogenically frozen or something like that, and they're traveling hundreds of years to go to this other planet where then they will like wake up and resume life, but they have to be asleep for a really long time in order to not age those 300 years. But we're following our main character who wakes up 50 years too early. So what happens after that, I do not know, but I would like to read the book and find out. So I feel like I'm very late to the game with this book, but I do still really want to read it and know what all the hype was about. The next one on my list, which honestly is kind of the exact same thing with that one, it's These Broken Stars. This was really popular a couple years ago on BookTube as well. This one I also think is the first in a series or a trilogy of, I want to say, companion novels. I don't know if the actual stories connect, but this one, I've heard it described as Titanic in space, but when I tell you the actual synopsis, I don't really think it sounds like Titanic at all, so I'm a little confused as to where I heard that from or why they said it. But I think we're following our main guy and gal, and they are on a ship that crash lands on this planet, and everybody dies except for these two. And now they have to work together to try to survive on this new planet. So, I mean, I have not seen Titanic, like, in full, but like, I'm pretty sure it's not like this, but I don't really know. So it does sound interesting. I like the idea of them having to survive together. I do know that this is like a romance as well. But I also think it might be a little bit of a hate to love story. I'm not really sure, but hopefully I really enjoy it just like everybody else did on BookTube like 7 years ago. And then the final book on my list is another old book, but a favorite of a lot of people, and that is Ready Player One. Yes, I am the only person on planet Earth who did not read this book. I believe it has a sequel now, which a lot of people didn't like, but I feel like people still really, really like Ready Player One. Once again, I'm not really sure what this book is about. I think it takes place, again, in, like, future society, and there's something about virtual reality, like, in this book. Like, being in a virtual world, and I think that the creator of this world has left like Easter eggs or something for people to find, and so like everybody's in this game trying to find these Easter eggs, but maybe it's like a if you die in the game, you die in real life kind of situation. I'm not really sure, but so many people love it, so I feel like I'm left out and I want to give it a read, and hopefully I will love it also, and then I can read the sequel and see if I hate that like everybody else does. So yeah, those are all of the books on my list for science fiction and dystopian books. If you read any of these books, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of them and which ones you think that I should prioritize on this list. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!